All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right.
Awesome. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. So you watch my YouTube channel.
Yes, yes. It was kind of interesting how I found you because I do some YouTube and different things, and I was trying to understand, okay, where's some blue ocean space in what I do? So I used to wholesale, I used to flip houses, but I noticed there isn't many general contractors uh, in the YouTube space. So I was just like, okay, who's out there? And I found you, and I started to learn a lot from you,
Hmm.
and kind of made me consider switching how I do my business.
Really?
Because I think we have some of the, I'm going through some of the same struggles you went through a couple years ago. And I've been really feverishly praying and, trying to see how I could solve those and still keep my integrity and not just bankrupt the thing and start over.
Right.
And some of the things you've been sharing, some of the mentors that you brought onto the YouTube page has been sharing, has been helping me out. So I was like, you know what? I need to, at bare minimum, invest how I can in whatever you have available, which was this consultation. And
Wow.
also, if I can understand a little bit more about some of the things you might not have talked about in terms of your journey and restructuring your company, paying off the debt and stuff,
Right.
see how it can help me.
Dang. Well, I'm here to help, man. I love it. I love helping
Definitely.
guys like you that are hungry and like have a hunger for the knowledge and are willing to pay a little bit just to gain, so much. Hopefully I can help.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. Well, I guess one of the biggest things I wanted to kind of start off with is just I want to give you a 2 or 3 minute spiel of kind of where I'm at, and then kind of start with understanding some of the lessons you learned on the residential side that
Okay.
made you kind of focus a little bit more towards the larger residential
Okay.
and then start to shift to the commercial.
So I have
So
context. Are you a contractor right now?
yes. So I am a general contractor right now.
License.
And license. Yep. Licensed,
DC
bonded,
in
got my
Florida?
insurance. You said what?
Are you in Florida?
I am in Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago. Okay, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Got it. So how many years have you been in business? Just let me get a couple.
So I've been in business total 5 years, but I started out in business by wholesaling. I did that for 2 years, then started flipping houses for 2 years, got into a lot of debt doing that. When I say a lot, I'm almost 700 grand in debt.
Whoa.
Yeah, and primarily it's private investors, because I was buying houses and not really understanding the holding cost
Okay.
involved with flipping. So yeah, we'd be like, hey, we made 20 grand, but not really.
Right.
And it wasn't until I got my bookkeeping right, which was about a year and a half in, because I got audited,
Yep.
did I realize how much money we lost, and everything hit the fan because we lost about 200 grand last year
Dang.
on top of everything else.
Right.
So that forced me to say, okay, I need to start being my own general contractor, because I've done tons of projects through other GCs.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for about a year now,
Right.
cutting costs, and really learning what construction is and how to put together a good project.
Strictly residential so far, right?
Strictly residential so far. That's
Like
correct.
kitchens and bathrooms and
Kitchens, bathrooms, full gut rehabs.
additions at all or no?
Haven't gotten to the addition side of the business yet, but we did get our first commercial project, which is Tuck Point in my church.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
and we actually have another commercial project with my church coming up where we're doing roof work and some interior kitchens and a gym remodel and stuff like that. But
Oh
that's
wow.
coming out the next 2, 3 months.
Okay.
The biggest part is that I'm struggling with right now is how to pay down this 700 grand in debt. My goal is to be able to get it paid off in, I say, 4 to 5 years, by kind of consistently getting bigger chunks every year,
Right.
and trying to structure my business to where I can run a business. I don't have to overcharge people, but I can get into an arena, which from watching you seems like more of a commercial side of
Right.
things,
Yeah.
where that overhead can actually be reasonable
Yeah.
while I kind of just intelligently keep my costs low
Yeah.
and go get more business.
Yeah. So things I've done be like go get a virtual office, which I've
Okay.
had for the last 6 years. It's been amazing. They answer all
Okay.
my calls and the business is registered through them. And I can go meet commercial clients like at a conference room for like, it's like $300 a month. And that's like one girl's salary for like a day or a day and a half. Um, so that's been a huge thing for me to, as far as strategic, hopefully you can hear me okay. You were breaking up a little bit there. Hopefully,
Yeah, I
uh,
can.
but good. So the overhead, strategically keeping that as low as possible. You're going to have to do as much as possible. It seems counterintuitive, but yourself. On the maybe you're the project manager, you're the estimator, you're the sales, everything except for the on-site supervision. That's at least my experience and how I
Okay.
was able to, like some people, that's how I was able to make it the first 4 years or 3 or 4 years. But some people start out, they're like, oh, I'm a company. That means I need to act like a big company and go get an office, go get the big trucks and the signs. Signs are important, but the expensive employees and I need an admin person and all these people. And I have about 7 or 8 people, 7 right now, and a couple interns that are slowly building into this. I've delegated the project management, the admin, the bookkeeping, the superintendent. I have 3 different superintendents, stuff like that. But it's taken me 6 years to get to that point
Gotcha.
of contracting, not just flipping and.
Yep.
So that's a start of a thought process there.
So with that, one of the things I noticed that you have superintendents that are kind of dedicated, at least that's what it looks like, to a
Yeah,
project.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
how did you start that model to where you're doing everything yourself in-house plus
Good
the
question.
project management,
Right.
but then that on-site supervision? Where did that shift come?
Yeah. So honestly, that's a fantastic question, and I guess really a lot of people I haven't really brought it up, but it's like even at year 3.5 to 4, and before it was like me and Casey, and I've had before Casey, I've had a couple other people for the first 3 years, but Casey came on with me about year 3, and he's been with me
Okay.
for about 3 years. So I would just have him. We would manage multiple projects. It was
Okay.
balls to the walls, man. Like no breaks, like I always say, Netflix and Friends and all these things. Like it was literally just 14 hours a day. I was up till midnight doing the books, editing videos for the company, building the website, estimating new work. I was digging into each set of plans, and going out to this, emailing to the subs and saying, meet me on this on site so I can do the job walkthrough so we can get accurate pricing, talking about the estimating side of things now. But then running the projects, yeah, it was Casey, and he would report to me. We'd talk 15 million times a day, and that's how we did it. I mean, it was like one of these, like you're taking off a plane and you're like hitting the road and the runway, and it's a really slow process. And if a lot of people just give up at that point, they're like, this is not going anywhere. It's too hard. It sucks. But that's what we did.
Got you. How did you, if you don't mind me asking, compensate Casey for that on-site management, especially given the multiple projects and the varied responsibilities?
Not much. I just salary. He was
Mhm.
making like 45,000 a year or something, and
Okay.
each market is different, of course. So that's
Yep.
just Florida, but he's making more now, but you have to find someone or maybe 2 people or just a couple people that are willing, that get your vision and are willing to see it grow with you.
Gotcha.
Um,
And was he experienced in, I
yeah,
guess you could say,
commercial
business,
construction.
commercial
He
construction?
built like Mayo Clinic and like these big things in the past and has worked for all these big GCs. And here we are starting with these little, we'd do as small as a bathroom remodel when we first started, and then build up from there. Then we get an $80,000 addition, and then we get 120, and then we get, these bigger projects. And now we're doing, the bigger stuff. He's able to run it, you know. So yeah, it's nice to find people who are willing to work cheap, who can grow with you.
Right. Right.
If possible.
Mm-hmm. And then how did you integrate kind of what you had to pay debt wise into how you did your business or how you
Yeah.
charged or how you bid?
So, well, I would just charge as much as humanly possible, and I lost a lot of projects. But then the ones that you get, and then you bank on them. You know, I mean, don't take that advice as far as like overcharge every single time. Don't take it that way. But you need to charge enough to where you can be comfortable. So don't just go like, oh, I should make 10%, so I'm just going to put a 10% markup because your markup's different than your margin. Did you watch my estimating video?
Yes.
Especially so you know the difference hopefully between markup and margin. So if you put like 17% markup, you might only make, I don't remember what it is, 14 point whatever margin. But
Right.
so really at the end of the year, like last year I only made like 10.5%, like net, like all at the bottom, you know, after every single penny was spent, which does not include my personal salary that I pull from the company, which at least in Florida, you have to do that. So the question was, how did I allocate the debt? Yeah, so I would put like I made a goal, like I want to put 20 grand a month or whatever it was towards the debt, and so I need to make this much net profit each month to make that happen. So you need to know what you did. You watch my net profit video?
I have not watched that one yet.
You should watch that one because then it goes through revenue and then gross profit and then net profit. There's 3 different types of like money, income that comes into your business. That do you know the difference? Revenue, yeah. Then you minus your cost of goods sold, which is your direct job cost, and that's gross profit. And you take out your overhead, and that's what you actually have. So you can focus on your gross profit up here. And you can say, okay, how much is my overhead going to cost? For me, it may be $400,000 or whatever. So I need to make 400,000 in gross profit to break even.
Okay.
But hopefully, I'm making 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, whatever to make 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, 100,000 net. You know what I mean? Just as an example. So you need to make those goals for yourself. Like I had a goal, get out of debt by, it was a couple of years ago, but by the end of the year. And I did it, you know what I'm saying? Because I focused on not the smaller projects when they would come through. Like I don't do bathroom remodels. I do larger projects. $100,000 is our minimum. So I was the lighting. So that's what I did. And I made it work.
Gotcha. As you transitioned in the residential space, one of the things that I'm kind of seeing right now is like, now I'm getting a lot of calls for the bathrooms or the kitchen, and for lack of better words, it's starting to become not worth my time. So how did you start to transition to the larger projects? Like, what did you do in your company to get those coming? Go ahead.
What's your website?
So it's igotrehabs.com, which is, I know, one of my biggest problems.
That's why.
Because it's set up as an investor trying to get motivated leads, not necessarily as a general contractor.
Okay, so you need a new website. You need what's your construction business called?
It's called I Got Rehabs.
Okay, so that's hurting you because I'm not going to hire you as a commercial owner. I need to grab my computer charger. Give me 1 second.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you need to change your maybe. I'm saying you need to, but I would change the name to where it's like something that is like whatever construction, so people know what you do. So the biggest thing that I did was I changed not my name, but there's always J Lane Construction, but my entire website to say, boom, I don't know if you've been there, but commercial general contractor.
Gotcha.
It's that simple. And then put up projects that we've done on the commercial side, which I know might be difficult for you, but you said you have your church, which is awesome. Take lots of photos of the guys or of you, like vlog, like this, that, have someone take a photo of you in the space, all these things, and then get a review from your church That's what I did. Brazil's Waxing Center was the first commercial project. The first permit I ever pulled was Brazil's Waxing Center. It was
Okay.
a huge 6,000 square foot commercial build out, you know, 6-figure project. And sorry, I was getting a message. And then I took that video and I put it on my website and I marketed our business. Let me turn my messages off. Sorry. So I marketed our business as the commercial general contractor. So I think that's what you need to do. You're not going to get the leads if you don't. I mean, that's kind of common sense. You probably get that, but how could I answer that better for you? I mean, does that make sense?
No, that definitely makes sense. I think the biggest thing for me right now is like taking the time to restructure things. Um, because like, for example, my background outside of construction, I worked in advertising at Microsoft. I'm a web developer. So I know those things, but right now it's like almost like everything in my business from a general contracting perspective is on fire. And I need to find ways to put out the fires or put people in place to put out the fires so
Right.
I can focus on restructuring the business, maybe even considering rebranding, because that's one of the things I think my name was great for the wholesaler or the person trying to find properties,
Yeah,
but I rehabs doesn't necessarily speak to a commercial general contractor at all.
absolutely. At all. Yeah.
So, okay.
I would say if you're transitioning already, just don't kill I got rehabs. If you want to maybe keep that open, that's fine. I mean, all you got to do, at least in Florida, is just pay the yearly fee of like $100-something bucks.
Right.
Is it an LLC? Just keep your LLC open.
Yeah, it's an LLC. It's like 150 a year. So,
Just get a new LLC, a couple $100 or less,
yep.
whatever you want. Turner Construction, whatever you want to do. Turner Contracting.
Yep.
That'd be cool. And then
Yep.
build a whole website. You do it. You web development. I just went on Squarespace. I mean, it's it.
Yeah.
And I just built a beautiful website. I get so many compliments on it. Like, she's like, "Who built your website?" I'm like, me. Just like it took me like I developed it over the years. But you just add a new video and stuff, photos, reviews as
Definitely.
you go. Yeah, and people go on there. They're like, how could I not hire these people? That's what you want. That's how to build a website.
Gotcha. And then in regards to some of your first jobs, so Brazil Waxing Center was your first job. You obviously had some more after that. What have you done to put yourself in the right spaces? I've kind of started to see some stuff about, building relationships with commercial brokers and
Yeah.
different things like that. But also, when it comes to getting the business, but then also finding the subs to be able to do it right. When you go from residential to commercial, it starts to look a little bit different.
Right. I made a video, 10 ways to find subcontractors. I don't know if you've seen that, but
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't, watch that because I literally go through like going to the building supply houses. You can find a lot of great ones there. You kind of have to just get out and meet people at the different networking events, whatever that may be, and then talk to architects. You can't just call other GCs. That's
Right.
not going to work. But watch that video, 10 ways to find subcontractors, because I go
Okay.
through 10 really great ways. So that'll save us time here.
For sure.
And then, but as far as finding commercial work, was that another? I mean, I did answer that. You need it. It's all about, for me, was all about my website.
Mm.
And then all about the architects that I brought in to work on, like this is a recent story. I built this architect's personal office after working with him for he did like an iPhone repair store for me, like a design build. So I hired him couple grand, whatever, he designed it for me. And then he saw our work and did that a couple more times. And now he's bringing us on to this like fitness center remodel. Like yesterday, we just walked it. So that can happen. But honestly, that's been about like 10% of my 20% at the most of my business. Most of my business has literally been through Google.
Mm.
Most contractors, it's like 5% through Google. For me, it's 90%. So like the auto dealership, the animal clinic, the bank, the doctor's office, the orthodontics office, everything we're doing right now, the church actually, I had personal connections and I used to go to church with some of those people. But anyway, but they went on my website and saw me through Google. They're like, oh, Jalen, we know him. So it's kind of like a double.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's like my biggest thing is getting Google reviews has been
Okay,
huge because we're the number one guy, general contractor in Jacksonville, Florida, as far as like number of reviews and stuff.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah,
And then in terms of um, like, how do you work your sales process to, I think it's a little bit different because when it comes to the amount of leads you get now versus the amount of projects you have,
yeah.
bigger leads. But what does your sales process look like from the moment that phone rings
Yeah.
down to getting to
So
the estimate
there's a
side?
pre-qualification.
Yep.
So constant pre-qualification. If they don't have a project that's worth our time, I respectfully decline. Um, if they have a good project, if they have the money, you feel like they have the money, you can't just, you got to be careful with this. So it's kind of like like, hey, do you mind me asking? Maybe we can just kind of talk about some ballpark budget numbers. Yeah, sure, we could talk about that. It's that kind of conversation where it's like, okay, how many square feet are we adding back? Like, say a tenant improvement, tenant build out, 1,600 square feet. Okay, great. Do you have $250,000? Because we're doing a 1,600 square foot orthodontics office for 249 right now. And so, it's complicated, so it's expensive. It's
Yep.
like $150 a square foot. But sometimes I'll throw out $80 a square foot, like in my head, or 125, or kind of just figure out for adding bathrooms, what's the MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, how involved is. So I get that feeling in my head and in my gut, and then I say, well, my feeling would be, you might spend a couple $100,000. Is that kind of what you were thinking, or that's kind of how I approach that. So that's the
Gotcha.
beginning of my sales process, and they're like, yeah, I think that's kind of close, blah blah blah, whatever they say. Go out and meet them. You're friendly. Bring your brochure, your business cards. Go to Fiverr.com, get some business cards made. Get a brochure made. I don't have any laying around, but then of course they've seen your website and so they're familiar with you already. Send them a couple videos, whatever, and then you're like, okay, we're gonna go back. If you have a set of plans, there's two different routes. If they have a plans or if they don't. If they don't, it sucks because then you got to be like, all right, so you got to takes longer. It could take. I've had most jobs like that take 6 months to even like start. So
Mm.
or longer. So, but if they come to you with plans, most of the time they're getting multiple bids. And so it's a different sales process. You have to sell them on why you're better than everyone else. And you got to come in right in the middle.
Right.
You can't be the top. You can't be you could be the lowest, but you don't want to be because you have to pay
Right.
your debt off.
Yep.
So that's the majority of the sales process. There's probably more nuances that I could keep talking about if you'd like, but
No, that's helpful. That's helpful. And
yeah,
then one of the things I've heard you talk about a lot in your video is the design build side of things.
yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what has attracted you on that end, and how is that different when it comes to um, how you work and not just the total price, because I know that comes into it, but just the ease of the project when you do a design build
Yeah.
versus when you just come in as a contractor.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been a sticky gray area. So there's always that thing of like, you can't blame the architect because they hired you to design it, you know?
Mm.
So it's a mucho greater level of responsibility. And so that's a huge aspect of design build. Plus it takes longer up front, et cetera. But the benefit would be like you have the client kind of by the reins or whatever. So it's like you can control the process a little bit better. You can design it maybe within a better budget or a better constructability review type, like block versus wood frame or that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, and if they don't have plans, it's just more of a way to, like I said, kind of rope them in to using you. So the way I do it is two different contracts. I do a design contract, which I call a pre-construction phase agreement, and then I do a construction phase agreement,
Hmm.
and so in the pre-construction, I tend to put a little budget in there, like say, okay, you want to be 500 grand. We'll try to design it close to that, give or take, I don't know, 10% or 20%, depending on the level of detail. And then if you're happy with us and we've hit your budget, with our proposal for the construction phase, then you agree to move forward with us. That
Gotcha.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. And then when a client doesn't have plans and they're not necessarily interested in like the design or getting plans, have you had projects like that where you're kind of more or less,
Yeah, I don't do them.
yeah, don't do them?
I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't do them. I mean,
Okay.
what you can't do a project without plans. I mean, if you're doing a project without plans, you're a residential contractor,
Mm-hmm.
or you're an unlicensed, unpermitted. I mean, plans is what gets you a permit. That's the thing.
Right.
You know.
Right. Anything else that you've learned just over the years that has helped you be a little bit more effective, especially considering the debt situation that I have?
Hmm. That's a complicated. I mean, it's. Ask me again.
Yeah. So anything that you could think of, like you was in the thick of it. You had just, I guess, fired your framing crew, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. You watched my video.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, and figured out that wasn't the way to go. Seen that mountain of debt. Any other thing you did strategically, maybe even personally, just to make sure
Yeah.
you were able to pay it off?
Okay. Honestly, the biggest thing was just taking larger projects with higher margins.
Mm-hmm.
It's just taking the larger projects. It's just getting to the next level, because if you're doing if you're doing anything under 100,000, you're just going to spin your wheels for years and years and years and years. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, is
Okay.
they're the contractor, the residential contractor that just does kitchen remodels for 30 years. And if they're happy with that, that's fine, but they're not going to get out of 700 grand in debt. The
Right.
700 grand is going to take you a little while. I was at most a couple 100,000,
Yeah.
but it took me, well, a year and a half, 2 years since it actually happened or whatever. It took me a couple years. So yeah, I would say you could do it in 5 years, but you have to do above $1 million a year, maybe 2 million a year, and maybe 1.5 in revenue
Right.
at
Right.
10 to 15% net profit.
To that happen.
Yeah. You kind of need to set those goals. So the biggest
Mm-hmm.
things that I would recommend for you, like hearing your story at this point, would be get that website built, get the new LLC opened, which is kind of hard because that means you just started, and that's year zero. And so don't be discouraged, but you need to maybe get some Google reviews, get some, like, build a church, make them the happiest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. Just be there every single day, answer every single phone call, respond to every email just right away, and get the job done beautifully. Then ask them for like a video review, and hire someone or film it yourself. That's what I did, and put it on your website.
Then, as you got away from just you and Casey working your butt off and got to where you could bring on some more people, what was that turning point, and how did you go about deciding how to structure what the larger team looked like?
So there was no turning point. It was a constant grind for years on end.
Gotcha.
And then we hire one more guy,
Gotcha.
and then, okay, cool. Let's give it some time. Keep the salaries low. I know we want to up them, but let's just, okay, we're here. Okay, let's push it down. Let's be humble. Let's do good work. Let's figure it out. Boom. Okay, we get the next big project. All right, let's add a guy. Boom. Okay, boom. It's a strategic. So there's no point.
Mm-hmm.
Foundation.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah, you need to work on building your mindset, building the foundation to build your company on. I constantly, the first 5 years, thought always the word foundation. I was in the ditches, bro, myself, with one other guy, with two other guys, whatever it was, just digging, down. I'm like, I could have said, this isn't going anywhere. I'm just going around in circles, but I'm getting deeper and deeper each time I go around. And then you start pouring that concrete and you're like, oh, we're actually getting somewhere. Now I have the foundation for a beautiful company.
Gotcha. Is there anything you were reading
Yes.
in time that kept you where you needed to be?
Yeah, so anything by Robert Kiyosaki, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the cash flow quadrant, increase
Mm,
your financial IQ, how to retire rich and retire young, and why A students work for C students,
gotcha.
and why B students work for the government. That's a good one. I'm reading that right now.
So that's an actual book he
That's an
wrote?
actual book, yeah, by Robert. I love this guy, man. But start with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The biggest,
Yeah.
another book would be The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's like
I've
the
heard of that email.
first entrepreneur book anyone should ever read. But the biggest like construction books would be George Headley. This will really help you. How to Get Your Construction Company to Always Make a Profit by George Headley. Read that book first.
Okay.
That was huge. That was huge for me.
Where do you see, and this is just for my information more so than anything, what's next for your company at J Lane? What do you see yourself doing next?
Developments over the next 5 years, over the next 3 years, even maybe 2.5. I'd like to get past the 10 million mark,
Mm-hmm.
and then so I'm building $10 million systems right now because I'm beneath 10 million, and once I hit 10 million, I'll build $50 million systems
Okay.
to get my company starting to think like it's going to think like a $50 million company, but we'll be at 10 or 12, 22, hopefully over the next, maybe that's a 10-year span. I don't know yet, but I got to get a 10 first. And then I'll build $100 million systems. So I'll invest in Procore. I'll invest in whatever, the IT, whatever it takes, in the integration to build the company and the people and all these things. But yeah, as far as projects goes, just bigger projects with higher profit
Gotcha.
and better people. Yeah.
My next question is a little bit more spiritual, and it might be a little bit private. So if you don't feel free or forced to answer by any
Sure.
means.
Sure.
But when it comes to your giving, and as a business owner, how do you look at? Well, first off, do you tithe?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. How do you look at your tithing as a business owner, and where does that 10% come from?
It's a
Because I always kind of
fantastic question.
boggle between what that looks like.
I've been struggling with that too, like to figure out the best way. But I read Dave Ramsey, which I'm completely against everything he says, but I read Entre Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Entre Leadership, I believe it's called. And it's a fantastic book. And he says he has I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 or $500 million company or whatever it may be, but he ties out of the salary that he takes personally.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what he does. And so maybe he takes 100 grand a year, and so he'll just do that.
Gotcha.
So the way I do it, and it's it's a more personal thing, but I give to a couple of different missionaries on a monthly basis. I also help some of my family, like my aunt who's in need, and help her. She's like 77, so I pay her. I just set her up on a recurring thing, but it comes out of my business, just straight out of my business. So it's almost like a donation from the company.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to
Okay.
pray about that one
Yeah,
yourself.
definitely.
Too. But it's cool. You're a believer too. You're a fellow believer.
Yeah, I'm really involved too within our ministry locally.
Awesome.
I do the media at our church from like a streaming perspective, and I also do small group curriculum is a new area that I'm going into right now. So
Wow.
between trying to fix the business,
That's a lot.
being involved at church, I definitely feel called to it. So it's always one of the things I really try and focus on is how to build systems in a business so that I can have time to do the other things I feel called to do.
Right.
And then also just get rid of the stuff I may like, but I'm not called to it. So
Right.
it's been a constant struggle, but I'm starting to get better. Some of that better is being by force just because of the debt situation.
Yeah.
but I think it's for the right reasons. So
Right. You need to kind
that
of weigh the options and see really where your time is best. Because you're gonna, if you want to build a business, it's gonna take everything you have,
right.
no
Yep.
matter what. It's just, it's not gonna work if you don't give it all you have. Of course, you need time for yourself and the Lord and other people, and there's like this portion of your life, but 10% don't make it 50, you know?
Right.
I
Right.
mean, to me, the God thing really isn't a part of this. It's a part of everything for me. So it's over all of this, you know?
Yep.
So he's mixed into every single decision, and it's a constant thing for me all day.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Definitely.
the work life integration, to me, there's no such thing as a balance, but there's an
Yeah.
integration, you know? Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm.
Well, that's really all the questions I had. You gave me some
Those
good
are
stuff.
amazing questions, man.
So I definitely appreciate your time. And I think more importantly, like I said before, than trying to take up a full hours or just pick your brain, I wanted to pour into you because I feel like you have definitely gave me some things to think about. Um, I have experience in certain areas and certain things that you're using and getting great results from, say it be your website or Google. The division I worked for at Microsoft was Bing, so I sold search marketing, so
Wow.
I know it in and out,
Yeah.
but I haven't really put it to use on the general contracting side. And even looking up some of the commercial side, it's a wide open field, even in a market like Chicago. I think you said this in one of your videos before, like the websites are trash. They don't have reviews. So to have somebody who knows and understands it to come in, you can easily create a business off of it, especially once you start delivering and getting those reviews and stuff. So
Yes.
uh, definitely appreciate you, man.
Would you mind if I shared some of this with anybody?
Yeah, I don't mind at all.
Is there any
Go
part that
ahead.
you wouldn't want me to share?
No, I'm an open book, so you
I
can
love it.
share it all.
So am I, man. My whole life. I'm here. You can see it.
Right.
James, man, it's been such a pleasure.
Definitely. It's
Is
been a
that
pleasure
it?
as well.
What else can I answer for you, man? I think you gotta think of one more thing.
Let me think. Let me think. How do you take your breaks? When you're taking a break from the business, what do you do to make sure you can? And then how do you do that and stay disconnected?
So I like Spotify soundtracks and a candle, you know, just like complete, like at the end of the day, it's dark. Um, it's almost kind of like a prayer, but meditation kind of thing, like
Yeah.
just chilling, bro. um, you know, and if the phone's buzzing, like I've trained my people not to bother me at certain times, you know,
I got you.
and so I'll take those times for myself. It's really, really, really needed. You know, don't overwork yourself to that point, but you know, take that 10% for yourself, and you need to recharge. So yeah, I mean, like and then recently I just went to Lexington, Kentucky for like a contract I did together. I got out of the dust in my house, and I got out of all the constant, like can't even like go to the bathroom, and these guys like, yo, what do you want? Like, come tell us what to do. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was just great to go get a hotel and just like, you know. So
Has there been any routines that have made a difference in your productivity or your ability to take time for
so
yourself?
I'm not a routine guy. It's really weird. I grew up ADD, right? but I'm very much a go with the flow. So I get up, I pray, I figure out what's happening, you know. But the night before, if I have the inspiration, I'll be like, I'll write everything, like even just on a notepad to be on my desk, like boom, like everything I want to accomplish the next day. So I'm like pre-planned, like I know what's gonna happen. Um, but I don't like go like minute for minute ever, because no one,
Gotcha.
you know, you can't, like even the Bible says, man, don't say I'll go here and make a profit and I'm going to go here and do this day. Like there's a level to that, but you have to be super flexible. Don't ever bend all the way over, but like be like super flexible with clients, your schedule, your time, other people. your frustration level, you know, as far as like things changing all of a sudden, you know, so like, yeah, to me, it's just being more flexible is
Gotcha.
the biggest benefit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's it, man. That's all I got.
Other than a cup of coffee in the morning, that's my jam.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Put some comments on YouTube so I know you're watching.
We'll do. All right.
Call,
See you.
let me know if you need me.
We'll do.
Later.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.